Welcome back to another episode of Conversations with the Doctors. We're here once again today, and we are about to break down an important topic. I don't know how many of you heard about the tragedy that really struck the NFL, and everyone witnessed the sudden cardiac arrest of Damar Hamlin. And so today, what we want to do is we want to talk about this issue of cardiac arrest, and not just from a lecture standpoint, but we want to make it real. I'm going to tell you that issues of cardiac arrest have been around for many decades. We all remember Hank Gathers, remember Flo Hyman, remember all the athletes, but what about your neighbors? What about your family? What about those who've suffered with cardiac arrest and have not survived? Those who've overcome. So today we want to really focus on overcoming cardiac arrest. And so I have a superstar here with me today, someone who's a survivor. Someone who has absolutely conquered this and is here to talk about it. And so I want to welcome in a friend, a neighbor, someone, an overcomer, Ken Clark. Welcome.
Thank you, Don.
What's going on?
All right,
It's good to see you.
As always.
All right, come on down. Now this dude right here, he's a tall man, so I got let me stretch myself up. I got to make sure I'm good and tall for him, right?
Hey,
How you been?
good.
Good. So, tell me what you thought first. Were you watching the Monday Night Football game?
I was watching it, and I told my wife, he having a heart attack. When he stood up and dropped down, I said they better get to him in time because he's suffering real. I had that.
Yeah, that feeling,
vision, from my own impact. It touched me.
And I'll tell you, it touched the lives of so many people across the nation, really, about it. I think it's brought to awareness, sudden cardiac death awareness. And we know that month exists inside of October, and we're now talking about this in January, but it's an important topic.
Right.
So tell me what happened with you. What happened?
2009, February 25th. I was employed by LA Unified. I was driving kids to Palos Verdes. I had just dropped off 78 kids on the school bus. We always used to pray before we leave. Before I start that bus off, and all the kids, we used to bow our head and pray. That day was different. It just was different. I kissed the kids, my own kids, goodbye that day before I was going to work, and not knowing it possibly be my last day. And so normally I was trying to get back into basketball at 46 years old. And
no, wait a minute. You said back into basketball. Did you ball before?
I balled before. I played overseas ball, played Crenshaw Pro-Am, Joe Weekly, and I played Venice Beach. 2012, I was inducted into Basketball Hall of Fame, Venice Beach.
Oh, man, that's good stuff.
Yeah, so I was dropping the kids off. I had one kid that was being scouted real heavy. He was around about 6'7", 6'8", and this kid was a ninth grade, I think ninth or eighth grader, and he knew I was playing ball. I played ball, and so he wanted to play me, and so we, before the bell rang, we start playing, and so all the kids and faculty came out to see this going on, and I just had to work the young man. and so I worked them, and
wait, what was your go-to move?
Well, hey, I had to take him. He couldn't stop me down low.
Okay.
So until you stop me down low, then I'll start pulling up.
Okay. All right.
You just have to stop me. So the bell rang, and so that day, I remember walking back to the bus, but it was weird. Like, I was just my heart was racing. Like I couldn't catch my breath. Maybe I was too much exertion. I said, well, I'll sit down for a while before I cranked that bus up and going back to the yard. So I sat for a while and everything cooled down. Got to the yard, checked off with the supervisor, got my bag, my gym bag, headed to the gym. So, I'm getting ready to.
After you just had that bout when you weren't feeling
Right,
quite normal.
right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So I'm in good shape and everything. I feel good shape. I'm 46 years old, no medical history, don't drink, don't smoke. So we play them 3-on-3. And man, I'm just working this cat. I'm working him. Seriously, all serious. I was thrown down. Normally I just have, like Kobe said, peace. I went to work, and so they got the ball, and I was guarding the same cat, and so he did a move, and I staggered, and I guess he thought he really crossed me over, but I was having a heart attack right then and there. It seemed like someone hit me in back the head, and I didn't know where it was, but my body started talking. Hey, something is going on. And so I said, maybe I need some water. And the guy, they was like, hey, Clark, are you still playing? I said, man, go on. Get some water. So I staggered over there. Nobody paid attention and splashed some water on me. And I was still breathing hard. I said, wow, what is this? And I said, okay, I'm going to go to the bench. And so I'm going to take my time. I went to the bench and I said, I'm going to lay back and see if maybe I just need to rest. I went to lay back and the lights was going to go off. I said, oh, and I stood forward with my hands on my knee and start pressing the air out of my mouth, breathing hard. So I said, okay, let me lean to the side. So I leaned to the side. Same thing happened.
Now, were you having chest pain during that time?
No chest pain. Okay. Just I couldn't breathe.
You're having shortness of breath.
My body was in so good of a shape, I didn't even know I was having a massive heart attack. And that's the reason why it took so long, because my body was rejecting it, and it felt like a baseball bat hitting me because the oxygen wasn't going to my brain. And that's why I discovered. And so Dee Dee was a young lady. She said, Mr. Clark, is everything all right? I said, no, something is wrong. I can't breathe. So she said, let me run and get the attendant. So he came back. He had one of these big, huge fans. And he set the fan in front of me, and and that fan just blowing dust and everything.
So you went to get help because you weren't feeling well,
right?
And they brought you a fan.
They brought a fan because we don't know.
Now, was it a church fan like they were fanning you
no,
like that?
This was a big, huge, industrial fan, and this fan would just blow the whole gym. So. She said, let me get you some ice water. So she ran and give me some ice water. I said, Dee Dee, I can't breathe. And she said, Mr. Clark, let me call the 911. And if nothing is wrong, they'll let you go back to work. If anything, they'll check you out and they can help you. I said, Dee Dee, call. Because I knew I was in trouble. Okay. Call. So she called, and I'm breathing. So here come the devil. Hey, you already prayed this morning, so you don't need to pray again. And I said, man, let me get to praying. I said, let me drop all these sins off. So I start praying, and Lord, forgive me for my sins. And friends, they was all circle around me and saying, man, what are you doing? I said, man, I ain't gonna make it. So I'm gonna say my prayer and everything. So I said my prayers, and I told Dee Dee, call my wife and tell her I love her. Call my mother and tell her I love them.
Mm.
And so by that time, it had to be about 15 minutes. I'm fighting, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
I'm fighting. So I hear the siren. That was the best music I heard in my ears coming. I said, come on. I know they can get to me. So they came in with luggage and everything on the phone. And they said, hey, how you doing, sir? And I said, okay. I'm not okay. I can't breathe. And so one of them said, did you take anything? Did you take any drug? I said, man, I don't take drugs. I don't take nothing. What's going on? I said, I can't breathe. I need all the oxygen that you have. So he put the oxygen in. I knew it was a lot because I seen the phone just circulating.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, Mr. Clark, we're going to cut your jersey off. I said, cut it off. They put an EKG all over me. And
whose jersey was it?
Man, I even forget because it took me a while to even look at basketball games.
Mm.
I was so traumatized in that because I was dying, literally dying. So when they cut my jersey off, putting the EKG on me and getting the IV, hooking the IV they hardly couldn't find a vein, and they found it. And I seen one of the paramedics look on the screen and his face changed. Mm-hmm. And so they strapping me. They said, man, we got to get him. We got to get him out of here. So they running with me through the gym. By that time, all my friends said, this is not a joke. Yeah. It's something serious. So it was a black paramedic and a white paramedic. And they was arguing, boy, back and forth. And I was, they had gave me something, medicate to calm down. And I was like in La La Land, just looking up and, just white. And I was just talking, I said, well, this is it. I said, well, let me go on and say to our Father, I got up to give us this day. And I remember that the paramedic said, hit him now. And when I got to give us this day, I went out. Mm-hmm. Boom. That's when they VTAC'd me.
Mm-hmm. So for those of you out there listening, I mean, what Ken is really describing right now is he's describing that his heart started to go have a short circuit in electrical wiring. And likely what you're experiencing was a prolonged bout of ventricular tachycardia. So we have to say first, I'm not Ken's doctor at all. So I'm hearing this story actually for about the first time. But what I'm hearing is that he had a degree of what's called ventricular tachycardia, which means that it's like the fluorescent lights. When you turn them on and they don't quite come on immediately, they start to kind of shake and quiver a little bit when your eye sees them. That's what his heart started doing. But not enough where his lights went out and he lost consciousness. And so when they shocked in that moment, that was a moment in which you may have either gone immediately into ventricular fibrillation, which means now the heart ceased to contract rhythmically at all. And it now proceeded to just kind of twitch. And when they delivered this shock and you're in that state, you're completely out. And so that's extremely traumatic. One, that you remember it in its entirety. So tell us what happened after that.
The heart rate was at the point of 345 beats per second. Yeah. And they asked me, once they got me to the hospital, do you know how high your heartbeat was at? It was at 345. It's unheard of. So Gardena had me, and they was making the connection because my plans was with Kaiser. So Kaiser wanted me. So they had sent the unit to get me. And once I was stabilized to go to Harbor City. But meanwhile, my wife got the phone call that your husband had a massive heart attack. My mother got the phone call, your son had a massive heart attack. Everybody said, well, it's a joke. It's some kind of crank. This man is in good shape.
Mhm.
I mean, I was. Literally, I was. I was in great shape. And that day, something happened to me. And that's what it was. The heart took a different turn.
And I think that that's key, is that one of the things that we're learning more and more, right? So from breaking down a science standpoint, is we know, and many of you, if you've heard me give lectures before, you know that we know there's a rise in heart attacks that's happening inside the middle age group. People who walk around perceivably are healthy, but we're seeing it also inside communities of color, of individuals who are Black and Hispanic, are having heightened amounts of not only heart attack, but also cardiac arrest compared to the rest of the world. And, we've all learned this to some degree during the COVID pandemic. We've seen that, but you experienced this years before that.
Right. Right. And they had taken me from Harbor to Sunset because Sunset was equipped and specialized with people with different type of heart problem. And so they wanted to get me where the best, the doctors, I wouldn't say the best, but the doctors that dealt with heart issue at Sunset. So went to Sunset, and real good doctors have examined me and everything. And I was just sitting in the bed, and I never forget the doctors coming to me. He said, well, your life is going to change. The good thing, you're still here. Now, what we want to do is you can have three things. We can operate on you to examine the heart to see exactly what's going on, or we can go in there and zap all these frequencies that's shortened. All these things that they saying are life and death situation.
Mhm.
So nothing is I had to make crucial decisions of my life, and it wasn't easy because I was a ball player, I was a model, and then you talking about someone cutting on you, and you're gonna have marks, even though I didn't never wear my shirt off, but I was gonna have.
You just unbuttoned it
Right,
pretty far down.
Right. Huh? So he convinced me, and my sister said, well, go ahead. And he said, well, you can't drive a school bus no more. And you can't work around electric tubes. So I had the implant put in, and they sent me home. So that was a process. And at home, I started having these different situations with my heart racing, and everything was going off. My wife would take me to the mall. I walked for a few, and all of a sudden I tell her, you got to get me back to the car. I don't feel good. And we on the 105 freeway, and I told her, hey, I feel something with my heart. Called 911. 911 saying, get off the freeway. Fire truck is going to meet you. So they met me. They took me out of the car, hooked me up.
Your wife was driving.
Wife was driving.
So I'm gonna tell you. So right there, he's blessed with a wonderful wife. Because one of the key important things I'll tell you right there is that you have to be careful when your loved one is in the car, not to take it on yourself to say, I'm going to drive them. Because if their heart arrests, if they have an issue, you can't drive and take care of your loved one. It's always better to pause and stop and call 911 and get that assistance. So that's a very wise woman right there. That's in your court.
Oh, trust me, she's everything that God had blessed me with.
That's wonderful.
And
so the paramedics came.
Paramedics came. They taking me to the hospital, Bellflower. And then I came back home, and in the process, friends was trying to help me. It's crucial. People with heart condition is very crucial in the time length from that first month that you had the heart attack is crucial, because your heart is adjusting to everything. They told me, yeah, always you will have to take medicine the rest of your life. I ain't never taken no medicine.
Yeah.
I was in good health. Now you're saying I need to. I take 6 pills a day. Amiodarone is one of the strongest heart controllable. You would know to control the rhythm of the heart, because all the other medicines that they attempt to give me, it wouldn't work. So amiodarone was the only one that worked on me, and so they have to periodic check me and make sure everything is right. So I came back home, and for me, I get bored. They tell you not to do things, and I feel good. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I get out there with the pressure washer,
Okay.
not knowing, spraying down the driveway, and all of a sudden I go to turn the pressure washer off. Boom! What's that? And I went to turn the pressure washer off again. Boom! And I said, "Oh!" I was having a shock. So I rolled over on the ground, and I said, "Oh! I gotta get in. I gotta get in the house." And every attempt, it was firing. Boom! And I said, "Oh!" It was fully charged, hit me, and it started raining. I said, "God, I'm gonna die out here." So I seen my neighbor, Joe, and I said, "Come on, Ken, call for Joe." I said, Joe. I was on the ground. And Joe turned around, and I guess he didn't see me laying on the ground, and he went in the house, and I said, "Oh my God." And so I crawled to the steps, and we had those pillows steps, and I managed to shake one of the blocks loose. I was gonna throw through. We had one of these 12-foot iron rod doors, expensive, and I said, "Oh man, I don't want to bust that." But that's a life situation. Right. You're gonna do it. So I said, "Come on, Lord, please give me strength to go to that door." And we had cameras, motion cameras in front of the house that follow you. I'm doing this to the camera and hoping my wife will see me. So I get up. I finally get up, and I'm like, "Okay, get to the door." And I'm staggering to the door. And when I got to the door, my wife opened it. That was the best thing. And she said, "Ken, what's wrong?" I said, "I'm having a heart attack. I'm gonna call 911. And so I staggered, and it hit me again. Boom. And I went down the hallway, and it was firing. So my nephew ran to me, and I can hear it in my ear. Zzz. I said, "Get away from me. It's about to fire again." And he said, "No, I got you." And I said, "Okay." He got me, and he grabbed me, and guess what? He went right into the Christmas tree. All the electric charge went into him, and he said, "God, wow." And so they got me on the couch, and I'm rocking myself, because that's the time you really have to brace yourself for that horse kicking you right through the chest.
Yeah.
I mean, it does what it's supposed to do, but it has some good points and some bad points. You're gonna go through it, but what's the best point is living. And so the fire department came in. They said, "Yeah, he's getting lit up. We see that right now." And I said, "Man, can you turn it off?" And so they put some magnets on me and turned it off. And I said, "Damn, that's all I needed, some magnets." Because I went and bought a whole bunch of magnets.
No, you don't want to use magnets like that.
You know, I like. So they taken me to Downey. Kaiser called Downey and got me to Bellflower. So they wouldn't let nobody see me, Holly, even families, because I was on that verge, the real ICU type of you know, I was on the death edge. Even my mother couldn't even hardly see me, because when I see a person I recognize, the heart would just take off. And they wanted to control my heart and make sure it stayed calm. So they was able to get a nurse physician, right, with 2 paramedics to take me to Sunset. So we got on from Rosecrans, and we hit Lakewood, jumped on the 710. And she said, "How you doing, Mr. Clark?" I said, "I'm doing all right." And all of a sudden, we got near 710 and the 5. My heart started. I seen it on the monitor start going at flat line. And she said, "Everything going?" I said, "No, I can't breathe." So she jumped up and she had a syringe and she hit right in the chest. And it was later I found out it was the lidocaine jump start my heart. And so I was the last one to leave the old Kaiser and the first one in the new hospital. So they didn't even have mirrors, no nothing. You know, they wheeled me right in the surgery room, you know, just sitting there, you know, until it was weird. They was puzzled. Why is this happening to this young Black man that never had an issue? So they did a genetic study on me. They did they roll your body into this machine. CAT scan. MRI. I can't have it now because the defib. But that thing was something too, because I get so claustrophobic and you know it's going.
So they did the $1 million workup on
right.
Yeah.
I really cost Kaiser, I would say at least $20 million. At least.
That's right.
Back and forth. I'm one of the best.
Yeah, you work way more than that anyway.
Patients, because there was they did the test and it came back in Virginia. Virginia said, with the scientists that did the study, they said, "I inherited from my dad. Don't get mad, get upset. You just inherited from your father. Your father had it." And I found out it was traits from history back. His family had a known heart.
See, and I'm gonna tell you, this is why it's so important to know our history, you know, and have these conversations inside the African American community. A lot of times people didn't share their history, very secretive about what's transpired in the past. And it also kind of begs in with Damar Hamlin, a lot of folks jumped immediately to trying to diagnose precisely what happened. We don't know. Only the doctors involved know. There are inherited conditions that can happen and various things in terms of the pathways of the electrical circuitry that can become dysfunctional. It can be abnormalities in the coronary arteries, the way that they are. It can be issues in terms of the heart muscle itself being too thick. So lots of different things that can happen that can result in that cardiac arrest, or it can be the plumbing issue, blocked arteries and so forth. And it sounds like yours was a combination of a bunch of inherited types of conditions.
I had the tissues, the fatty tissue was damaged around my heart, and they wanted go in there and zap it, and this last one, they was gonna operate on me and take the wire with laser. They want to laser it out, but doctor called me and said, "Hey, look, I gotta be honest with you, and before, how do you feel? Do you feel if it's not, just we can leave it alone?" And I said, man, what is this? I thought I was gonna get it operating in the morning. I already psyched myself up, and I was eating my last supper with him. And the doctor called. I said, "Man, what is this?" I said, "No, man, I ain't gonna go through it." So the surgery team at Sunset was upset because I was supposed to be there and I wasn't. And I said, "Man, I don't want to gamble, but it worked out because I'm still here. But they are going to have another surgery when they remove this year, next year, and place another wire or remove that wire out because the wire detached. And that's one of the things. It's delicate. It's putting a defibrillator inside of you because it has the twist inside the heart tissue, and sometimes you can puncture it, go right through because it's being guided. So it's just like you blind and you.
And that's one of the things I'll tell people, right? So every procedure in life is going to carry a risk, and it's almost the same as driving a car. When you get behind the wheel of a car, there's a risk of a car accident. And so that risk may vary according to the conditions. If it's icy road, if there's drunk drivers on the road, things of that nature may increase your risk versus an open country road in the summer, lower risk, but the risk always exists. And so that's important. But, I want to ask you, because you alluded to it, how did this affect you from a mental standpoint, from a standpoint of just the fear of dealing with it?
What I do now, I have one of these, and if I feel my body is doing something out the norm, I would just sit down for a minute and just
check your pulse.
My heart, it stays 50 and 48 is normal. Every time when I go to the hospital, they see my heart. They like, "Oh, is everything okay?" Because they ain't used to seeing someone with a heart rate at 48. And you have to either use a track runner. Runners have a slow pacing heart, or a good athlete.
Yeah, I know. My heart rate stays around 50 or so, 48, 50.
But to lose your question, it's hard. I mean, nothing is easy. It takes time. This heart condition just didn't get there. It took time, and I will be 60 years old next month, the anniversary of February, Valentine. That's my birthday. February the 25th is my anniversary with the heart attack. Now, I think it's like 13 years, from 2009 to now. They had told my wife that I wouldn't live 10 years.
Wow.
So I say to people out there, don't trust what men say, trust what God and fight, because if you're not gonna fight, who's gonna fight for you? I mean,
You're right. You're right. And I'll tell you so much about like the power of the mind. The power of the mind is so important when you look at the impact. Here's what I tell people. When you look at any research that's done looking at if a medication is powerful, what do they compare it against? They compare it against a sugar pill. Why do they compare it against a sugar pill? Because the thought is that a sugar pill is inactive. It has no purpose. What they're really testing is they're testing your mind. That means that any medication we give you has to at least beat out your mind, because we understand that there's such a power in this placebo. We call it placebo, but really it's the power of the mind and the positive affirmations, the positive thoughts that we give. And studies have shown the benefit on the heart when you live in an environment that's supportive. And on that note, you've been married. How long have you been married?
20. I better get this right.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble now.
27 years.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you a question before
April 13th.
All right, you got that part right.
Oh, okay.
All right, so wait a minute. I got something for you. Before I ask you this question,
Okay.
I want you to bring your wife on.
Okay.
Bring your wife. We gotta meet this young lady who has been the back.
And I'm gonna say this.
Mhm.
I left this detail. One time I was having a heart issue, a heart attack. I laid on the kitchen floor. The device worked, and then it exhausted itself. So the device has a brain itself. It's, hey, I did everything that I was supposed to do to get that heart in it, and the heart was still going. My interaction with God talking to me is told me to tell my daughter, get the ice out the refrigerator and pile it on top of me, on top of my chest and my face. What the ice did was shock the heart back down.
And so that's one important thing that happens. And I'm not advising folks out there to bathe in ice, but one of the things we know is that when you have ice, and there's actually studies that have been done, it's anecdotal. We talk about when a person's having a fast heart rate, not necessarily the kind that you have, put your face inside of a bucket of ice, because it'll induce what's called a vagal response to help slow things down, right? So you have like the yin and the yang, you have the fast and the slow. So the parasympathetic is sort of the tend to be friend to help settle things down, slow it back down. But you have a beautiful young woman that's next to you. Invite her on here. Let's bring the young lady on.
I don't know if I want to put her on because hey,
she's gonna tell all the secrets.
No, somebody might be. Hey, look, competition is out there. Hey, look, this guy got him a beautiful wife.
All right, Ken. So we're gonna have you slide your wife over, and then have you slide over too as well.
Okay.
All right. So tell the folks, what is your name? Tell us how long have you been? Was he right in the amount of time?
You got it right.
You got it right.
So we've been married for about 27 years, and we've been knowing each other for about maybe 30 years. So my name is Kiva Clark. Yeah. And so, like Ken said, he's been through a lot with the defibrillator.
Now I have to ask Ken this first, right? Because this is what I ask my patients to break the ice. Tell me the first time you met her. What was she wearing the first time you met her?
The first time
you saw her, what was she wearing?
We was in the club. We was in the club, man. Hey, look. I think I had a glass of beer in my hand, and I followed her. I said, that's gonna be my wife.
All right.
And she went in the bathroom and hid it for an hour. I stayed.
She said, "Who's this guy following me around?"
And then her cousin said, "You know, she don't want you, and she not." I said, "I'll wait right here until she comes. She could sooner or later. She got to come out of that bathroom."
That's all right. That's all right. I love that. I love love. I love
Is
love.
that true?
Yeah, it's a true
That's true.
statement.
Okay.
So tell me what was going through your mind. How has this been for you? Because one of the things we ignore a lot of times in patient care and admission as a doctor, right, is that I'm focused on the patient, but the support, the family, the wife, the kids are equally as important in any form of recovery. But I'm gonna ask you first, how did all this impact you? How are you doing?
Um, it was a lot because it changed the family dynamics. As soon as he had the heart attack, prior to the heart attack, Ken was always one of those guys that always did go to the doctor regularly.
Mm.
So that was a good thing. I think prior to the heart attack, I know you kept saying that he felt like pins and needles at the bottom of his foot.
Mm.
And so he would go to the doctor and then they wouldn't find anything. They thought he was diabetic, just based on the symptoms. So by him being very active, when he did have the heart attack and the road to recovery, he was like afraid to be left alone. He was afraid to take a shower for the first 6 months. And so, it just kind of changed drastically because when he came out the hospital again, it was like maybe a few weeks, and he was hit with the defibrillator outside, and I think it shocked you about what 20 times in the chest, 20 times, and so I remember even with me when he came in. It took me like maybe about 5 or 10 minutes to even answer the phone. I mean, not answer the phone, be able to call the paramedics because it sounded like somebody was killing them downstairs with the screaming. So we were just all in a panic.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like the most calmest person. And I'm just like, I couldn't even dial 911. And then we had other people there that, which was his best friend and his nephew. And it was like, we're just running around like it was chaotic.
Yeah.
There's certain things I don't do no more. I used to be hard-headed, weed whacker, and they say don't have that weed whacker and things. They give you a booklet, not to do and don't.
Yeah.
And listen, pay attention. If you do have one of these, pay attention to it because they're not lying. You get too close to that vibration, to the engine. The brain in this won't. It has a
hard to differentiate,
right? And so I would just say, I once we moved here, I had to get rid of all my tools because there was temptation.
Yeah,
I wanted to use it. Even my buffer, I wanted to use it on the car. I would attempt to it, but. You get a certain age, I don't want to get shocked no more.
Yeah.
50 years old, I was taking them shots. But you getting 60 now, thank you, because I haven't got shot in a long time.
All right. That's good. That's
Last time I got shot was 2012 in Texas. I was driving, but we're celebrating my uncle turned 100, and a nephew that I found out he's my nephew. I thought he was a cousin, but he was actually my brother had.
Okay.
but
different story. We're gonna say that.
Okay. But and so I was toasted, drinking, celebrating. If you're taking medicine, you can't drink. Can't drink, can't smoke. And when I was on my way to that party, I was talking to my brother to the right. I was driving going 70 miles an hour on 59 North. And I was talking to him, and all of a sudden, I slumped over the steering wheel. My brother was shaking me. I was out of my body walking on the freeway looking at what the destruction of the vehicle was doing. And my brother happens to wear no seatbelt sometimes. And when the car came to a settle upside down, I looked and my brother wasn't there. And I said, oh my God, help. And that's when the defibrillator blew me. back, and and my brother was shaking me. He said, "What's wrong, Ken? I said, "Man, I was dead. I was dead. I was walking up." He said, "Pull the car over," and he knew because he was a respiratory therapist. He knew because he'd seen it before, and so that was a miracle right there. I didn't crash. I didn't hit nobody.
Yeah,
And that freeway was packed.
Yeah.
To go 70 miles an hour and not hit.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, you are a blessed man. That you're here all these years, some 14 years later, you've been through a lot. You have tremendous support. I think one of the things I want to ask, we kind of sort of turn the corner on the conversation here with your wife and so forth, and the support that she's given you, in acknowledgement of what that means, right? In terms of just you being here with that level of support. We all need that support, and we understand that some of the research that I've done in looking at is really the power of relationships, the power of love, the power of intimacy in terms of relationships, just friendships and support that's there, and the role that can play. And studies have really shown that. So that's extremely powerful. One of the things I want to know from you all is what I observe is the fact that it seems as if there is a lack of awareness of sudden cardiac arrest inside of many communities, African-American communities, as many others. Have you observed that at all?
Yes, when it gave me a different perspective, because when Ken, by him being in, slim build and in great shape, I just thought I related or correlated heart attacks to people being overweight. And, we have a different, perspective of, what a person looks like, like overeating and things of that nature. And so, again, I was kind of being, cautious about like exercising, and then like just being in tune with my body and knowing like different symptoms and stuff that he was having. And so I think it made awareness in your family that, it's just not people that's overweight or, not eating healthy. It can happen to anybody.
It can happen to anybody.
Well, my twins, they was running track, and they just, with all the records and trophy I had, they want to prove a point to me that they even gonna be better than me. So they ran the track at Downey High School. They broke a 30-year-old record, and they said, "Now, Dad, our name gonna be in the office for 30 more years." So they stopped running behind my condition because I didn't want to I didn't want them to take a chance on having one of those speedy hearts that come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And those are some of the things that a person would have to understand, he or she, if they want to live, or, hey, with my wife, you have to have that support. Without that support from your wife and family, like she said, I was in the closet, I was scared, terrified. I didn't want to leave. I had these little devices. I would just hit it. Mr. Clark, are you all right? 911. I would just test it out, and, and everything. That's how tremendously I was impacted with the heart condition. I didn't want to die, and nobody wanted to die.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here to share your story. I'm glad that you have the support and that you're courageous enough to live, right? Because a lot of people can go into a hole after something like that and just be afraid to live. And so I think that speaks testimony to those out there who are listening, is that, we want to overcome so we can live. And one of the things I think that's important I want to bring home is that I want everyone out there that's listening to Ken's story, that is listening, has watched the events that have transpired. One thing you can do, pray. It's good. But I'm gonna tell you the second most important thing you can do: learn CPR. Learn CPR. That is the simplest tool that you can do to understand that your actions can save not only your loved one's life, someone else's life. And there's power behind that, to give someone a second chance of the things that they can do inside the world and the community, the lives that they touch. Because I'll tell you, Kim, right now, you don't know whose life you're touching right now out there.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
who perhaps has been ignoring symptoms,
Mhm.
who perhaps needs to get checked out, who perhaps just needs to go and decide, I'm actually going to make a doctor's appointment because I'm paying all this insurance. I might as well. And that's power. So I appreciate both of you. I appreciate the love that you all exude to one another. I appreciate that support that's there. I know my wife has always told me, she said, listen, if I'm not there at your bedside, if something's going down with you, you know there's problems. We're having problems, right? So, you know, I tell patients all the time, where's your support system, right? That spouse, that significant other, that family member. And so, man, I'll tell you, as a physician, as a neighbor, as a friend, thank you all. Thank you for your story, for your example, for what you all are sharing in terms of what you've gone through, because I believe it's going to help someone.
And I respect all doctors. These doctors go through long years of study and everything. We should be kind to them. And so,
Say a little louder. Say a little louder.
Trust me.
Yes.
Trust me. There's one doctor out there. He knows who I'm talking about. I wasn't the best patient because all this was new to me, and I was looking for to blame somebody for it. Wasn't their fault.
Yeah,
it wasn't anybody's fault. It just happened to be inside of me, and I thank God because I'm here today, like Dr. Batiste said, telling somebody out there and someone is listening to my story, because I have it. It's a testimony, and I'm here for a reason.
That's right. All right. We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to more conversations like this and powerful words from individuals like Ken and what he's gone through. Brother.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
yes, sir.
Thank
yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir.
You got a good woman too.
Oh, I know that. But this isn't about her right now. This is about your wonderful woman right now. All right, and about you. So,
well, she keeps my heart going.
All right now. This is heart to heart conversation. Broken heart.
Let me tell you a little joke. You man that's old, get you a young woman.
All right. Listen, I want you all to stay tuned. We are going to be back with more conversations. You've experienced Ken and his wife and their tremendous story. Tell someone. Get that CPR class. Sign up through American Heart Association. And guess what? Take your life in your own hands. I want you to start eating better, right? I want you to start moving more. I want you to sleep more. I want you to take time to build those relationships, build those bonds that are there, and connect yourself, because it can transform your life. Stay tuned. Good to see you. We'll talk to you soon.